Hello and welcome to another installment of You Can't Beat the Drums. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these things. I haven't found any good deals on drums for quite a while. I had a couple that I was going to score, but then at the last minute the people sold them out from under me, which is really annoying. If someone calls and gives you a time they're going to be there and guarantees you're going to buy the thing, don't sell it out from under them. That's really rude. Anyway, this guy is in Olympia, the capital city of Washington State. I'm going to be driving down there today. It's not the cheapest set I've ever gotten. It's $300, but it's a little Sonor jazz kit, and it looks like it may have a Zildjian Ping Ride A-Series, which would make it a pretty good deal. Don't tell my wife, but I might actually clean this one up and keep it for myself. I mean, I only have, that would be 4 drum sets, and that's not a lot compared to what some people have, although some would argue 4 is probably more than anyone really needs. But I've been criticized for having huge drum sets because all 3 of the drum sets I have now are pretty large. So this would be a nice little jazz kit that I could just tuck away in a corner for those certain instances where minimalism is called for. Anyway, let's get going and see what it looks like. Here we are at the garage. There's the set, all set up. And yes, that is a 20-inch Ping Ride, as I thought from the picture. And other than a little dust, it looks in pretty good shape. Why is it you're selling it?
I'm moving across the country. Can't fit in my car.
Wow, across the country. That's kind of exciting. Anyway, well, that's pretty nice. Okay, well, 300 bucks. I think I'll take it. I'll load her up and we'll be on our way. One of the things you can't see in the picture, and I forgot to mention, is that when I was buying this, under the table, there's a picnic table in the garage, and under the table there was another snare drum sitting there. And I asked the guy what it was, and he said, "Oh, it's some old piece of junk, I don't know." And I said, "Well, do you want to sell it?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'll give you 20 bucks for it." He goes, "Absolutely, sure." Turns out it's a Ludwig snare drum in really good shape, which you'll see in a few minutes. But I felt bad about such a good deal, and so I actually gave him $340 for the kit and the snare drum, which you'll meet in just a minute. There's Remo. Hi, Remo. How are you? And there's Benjamin right there. There's Benji. They're going to help me take apart this snare drum I got. This was that extra snare drum I talked about when I bought that little Sonor kit. And I've started to take this apart. This is actually a Ludwig. It's a black acrylite. Some people call them black rolites, made sometime, I think, between the 90s and the early 2000s. I'm going to try to look at this serial number and see if I can figure out when that is. It's got kind of a metallic black finish, and it appears to be in fantastic condition. Some have even said I might get between $200 and $300 for it, which would be phenomenal because that would basically pay for the entire kit. And if I sell a few extra pieces I have laying around, I might be able to get a nice cymbal and end up with a beautiful jazz kit at almost no cost to me, which means I could sell it down the line for very, very low price. But I think I'm probably going to keep this kit. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I clean it up and all the things I do to make it better. But first, I'm going to completely disassemble the snare drum, use some 00000 wire wool, steel wool on the rims and so forth. I'm not going to scratch them, don't worry. And I might try a little tiny bit of Comet on the head to make it just a little bit whiter. Now the problem is with a piece drum head, that may be a problem because some of the cheaper heads, when you use Comet, it rubs the roughness right off the top. I don't want that. I want it to stay rough. If it gets ruined, I will just buy a new Remo drum head for it. Anyway, here we go. It's time to unscrew and polish and wax and try to make it look gorgeous. Step 1 is to get the thing somewhat apart. You'll notice this thing has been laying around in a rat-infested garage for quite some time. There's just a lot of dust and grime, things that kind of fell out of it. But the thing about a good quality drum is, even though there may be a couple of small spots of surface rust, I don't know if you can see a little bit there, the quality of the chrome, the quality of the metal means that it's going to stay in great shape, even when slightly, I don't know if abused is the right word, maybe just neglected. So cleaning it up, I'm thinking it'll come back looking like almost a brand new drum. So I'm pretty excited about it. The drum is officially disassembled now. You'll notice the parts and pieces. Some of the lugs are a little grimy, but not too bad. I think they'll polish up nicely, as I mentioned. And the shell will be beautiful. There's a couple smudges on it that I'm going to have to use some goof off, as well as the remnants of duct tape on the snare head. Little goof off will probably take care of that too. Then the rims with the steel wool and so on. And the head, as I mentioned, with the Comet. We'll see how that works. But looking good so far. No surprises, no broken parts that fell out when I took it apart, and that's always a good sign. I didn't check to see if... Oh, these have no springs at all. Normally I'll put cloth around the springs to stop them from ringing. These lugs are a different design. These basically have the little rubber inserts that hold the... Let's see if I can get that in focus. There we go. That hold the little lug nut things in there. Yeah, it's impossible to get a good focus. This is where I should actually use a real camera instead of a phone. Anyway, I'll start polishing and buffing and cleaning, and we'll see what it looks like when I put it back together again. I've been working on the drum all day. You can see it's dinner time for the doggies. Everything is cleaned and polished. I didn't use much of the steel wool on the lugs. They were in such fantastic condition. What I did do, though, on everything, I did steel wool the rims, was I used this Griot's 3-in-1 wax on all the chrome pieces and on the shell itself. The shell looks beautiful, almost new. I used a little Comet on the white head, and sure enough, it cleaned off without rubbing off all the coating, so that's great. The snare head looks very clean because of the goof off I used to get the residual duct tape off of it. So now all I have to do is put it together and hear how it sounds and see how it looks. Okay, so the drum is finished, and I'll show you what it sounds like in a minute, but as you can see, it turned out beautifully. Just love it. I mean, the thing looks almost brand spanking new. The bottom head's in really good shape, few minor scuffs, but nothing really of any consequence. And top head looks great, looks brand new. So yeah, very good. Now let's put it on a stand and see what it sounds like. So here's what it sounds like through the crummy phone microphone, but give you some idea anyway. Not bad for 20 bucks. My wife's gone for the afternoon, so it's just me and the boys, and we're cleaning up the Sonor Kit. The head on the toms looked pretty much like that, but a little Comet, gentle rubbing in water, ends up making them look like that. That's the ride tom, which is finished. It turned out absolutely beautiful, as you can see. The snare drum, likewise, I polished up. The stands needed virtually no polishing, just a little Griot's speed shine on them. And this is a PDP snare stand that came with the set. Snare drum turns out to look great and sounds good as well. Getting the heads all cleaned up. The rims look pretty good shape. The tom legs and bass drum legs are perfect. I'm going to use a little steel wool on the claws for the bass drum. But there was something that was kind of odd about the bass drum, and I'll show you that in just a second. This, by the way, is I found a little extra bass drum slam pad, or whatever they're called. And so that's kind of cool for the bass drum, since I'll probably be keeping this kit. But let me show you what I found on the bass drum. I'm out here in the garage now. There's the North Kit, which I had to move forward a little bit because I'm getting a car back from a 7.5-year restoration. I had to make room in the garage for it. So I had to move that more toward the workbench. But What happened was I noticed on the bass drum that one of the lugs was bent completely over this way, just mashed in. So this thing had obviously been dropped right on the lug. And one of the lug screws, in fact, was bent. So I had to put it screwed into a nut and then put it in the vise and bend it back so it's straight. But then the wood was actually cracked a little bit inside, which was kind of disappointing. So I used some Gorilla Glue and I bent this metal plate to make kind of a curvature. And I went ahead and squished it shut with the glue and clamped it with these. I used one of these clamps for the edge, and then I used the vice grip clamps thing that I've got to go inside. And when that gets all dried tomorrow, I'll probably sand it down a little bit and put the lug in. My guess is it won't be completely straight like these are. I think it'll probably be angled again slightly because the shell was kind of munched in a little bit. But I don't think that's going to affect the sound, especially when I have it glued like this. And again, considering the fact I got an A Zildjian 20-inch ping ride with it that's in excellent shape, and a pair of Peisty hi-hat cymbals that were also in great shape, plus all the hardware, I think it's going to be still a really good, well, it already is a really good deal, but it should be really fun when I finish putting it together. I put the tape there, by the way, so that will catch excess glue. So when it's all dry, I should be able to just peel that tape off, and it should remove any of the excess glue that's spread around. There it is, a little Comet, a little water, a little scrubbing with the rag, and that floor tom head you just saw looks a lot better. You can see a little bit is worn off in the middle. That was from playing. Remo heads usually respond pretty well to gentle scrubbing with Comet. If you scrub too hard, you can take the white off of the head. And other brands, be very, very careful. Like Aquarian, I think it is. Just the white rubs off immediately, it just disappears. So don't use Comet on anything except maybe Remo whiteheads. There may be others that work, but just be careful not to wipe the white out completely. Here I go with the controversial cymbal cleaning with Barkeeper's Friend. If you go in very carefully organized concentric circles so you don't scratch it, and you're light, you can actually make them look a little bit better. This cymbal's not in bad shape, so I'm going to just give it a light going over. The lettering will probably fade somewhat. Hopefully get rid of that mark, for example. Make it look a little bit better. But as I've said before, I'd rather have a really shiny cymbal with no name than a cymbal with a name on it that's really gross looking. So this is the final product after the polishing. Now this back isn't as quite as clean as the top. There's a few fingerprints. You can't really see them very well. And I managed to keep the logo on there too. I kind of cleaned around it. This one had a little bit of fading on the logo already, but it still looks pretty good. And I think that cleaning up, that polishing really does make the cymbal look great. It's been 24 hours. Let's find out if this repair was the least bit successful. Hang up our tool there. Release this. Take this. This is sort of glued onto the shell. I'll have to pry that off, and then we'll take a look and see if it got fixed. The clamp did some good. It kind of clamped it down. I'm going to sand it a little bit. The glue is not completely dry, unfortunately. Not sure what happened there. It's been 24 hours. So much for the instructions on the glue package. But you can see now that this is taken apart what I discovered. This is a little less crunched than it was. But I don't know if you can see, that's kind of munched in right there. So a little bit of a dent. But I don't think it'll be that noticeable. And so I'll put this back together, and again, it's probably not going to be anything anyone's really going to notice. So that's the good news. All right, a little sanding. There's a little bit of discoloration, but it's very smooth to the touch. And since that's kind of on the underside of the top of the drum, no one inside will know that it's there. And cut that off again. You can still see a little bit of a dent, but I don't think it's going to be as prevalent as it was. One of the things I got with this little Sonor kit is this thing. And I must confess I'd never seen one of these before. Apparently it may have just come out in 2018. I got a nice video from one of the folks on one of my drum forums that explained what it is. And what it does is it lifts these little bass drums like this little 18 off the ground so the beater will hit more in the center of the head. So what you do is, let me see if I can get this in shot, you put it down here, and the first thing you do is you hook this just as if it was a regular bass drum. You put it in there and you crank down on your little wing bolt, get it all tight like that. You have to extend the legs at the front of the bass drum as high as they can go, because this then lifts up. It's got Velcro on the bottom, which works great on the rug, and then you just basically set this where it would be if the bass drum pedal were clamping onto the hoop, except in this case it doesn't. And then this will hit right in the middle of the drum. Now let's see, grab my little drum key here. I'm going to adjust this slightly up because it's, first of all, it looks like a little bit too far away. So I'm going to pull the drum back just a tad. Actually, it's probably easier to move the bass drum pedal forward a little bit, so that it's going to be kind of where it's going to line up to the front of the pedal. That would be there. Okay. There you go. Now this is actually, that beater is pretty much in the middle of the head right now, so I don't have to adjust it at all. I can leave it right where it is. And this little 18-inch bass drum really ends up sounding amazingly good, bigger than it sounds. I'm going to add the bass drum pad there, little slam pad right there, and then I'm going to put the set together and let you see what it looks like all together. The drum studio is a little crowded right now, but you can see the set all set up, and I added an extra cymbal stand with a little extension there, and then I added a little old beat up Sabian splash and an 18-inch Sabian crash ride that I had left over for some other projects. This boom cymbal stand came with the set, PDP, not a bad stand, and the bass drum pedal is also a PDP. That's of course Drum Workshop's lower end. It's missing the little rubber thing, but that is a great pedal. It feels wonderfully smooth and quality built, high quality built. The DW3000, again, slightly lower end DW, but again, very high quality stand, really works well. I did also swap out the Peisty hi-hat cymbals with these A Zildjians, which I got from an old set I bought, and I cleaned them up, and they're wonderful. So those really had a net cost of almost nothing. As with these cymbals, that's probably 20 bucks, and that one's maybe, I don't know, 35 or something. So really, when you look at all the stuff added together, this set probably has about less than $400 total price. I cleaned it up, spent a little time on it, of course, but that's pretty amazing. And if I can sell that snare drum, that one I fixed up, for like $200, $250, that will pay probably to replace that with a 16-inch A Zildjian crash, maybe 17-inch, which I want, and a 10-inch A Zildjian splash. That way they'll all be A Zildjians. The set will be the complete little jazz kit that I was hoping it would be. The only thing I might do, because I might take it on a gig that isn't all jazz, is maybe I will get a double bass pedal and replace that PDP with maybe a DW. I was actually looking at the DW9000 Gold, which is basically that pedal over there. I actually hooked mine to this Mapex thing I showed you in one of my other videos, but the DW9000, I've loved that pedal. Well, they have a double pedal that just came out that's made of probably aluminum, but it's gold plated. It's just beautiful, and I thought, what a cool little set like this. That DW9000 Gold pedal would really pop, as they say. Anyway, let's hear what this thing sounds like. I'm going to use the stupid phone microphone because I'm too lazy to hook anything else up, but at least it'll give you a slight idea of what it sounds like. I will reiterate once again, this is a telephone microphone, so forgive the fidelity. Bass drum you heard already. Snare. I did it. I couldn't help myself. It was an emotional buying decision, which you're never supposed to do, but I did think about it for a couple of weeks. I've been playing drums for almost 59 years, and I just thought it's time to do something irrational, something exciting, something that I wanted to do, and I thought, why not? I'm going to reward myself. I've been saving my own little secret stash of money. It's not really secret. My wife knows about it, but it's money I make from gigs or teaching, things like that, that I can spend on whatever I want. Normally it goes to help pay for my collector cars, which are always needing repairs. But this time it's about drums. I ordered it. I got it. It looked like it was aluminum. I thought maybe they sent me the wrong one. I asked for the gold-plated one. But never fear, I'll take a look. So I opened it up. I pulled the handy-dandy carrying case out of the box. I wasn't sure what I would find. Would it be aluminum? Would it be special? And it's gold-plated aluminum. Yes, it's the DW9000 Gold. I can't believe I actually own this thing. I am very, very fortunate to be able to indulge myself and buy this thing. So I can't wait to put it together and try it on the little jazz kit. So let's see how that works. Okay, I gotta say, that looks pretty spectacular. Got them kind of adjusted roughly. They work pretty well. Problem is that my stool is so low on this kit. I need to get a normal like rock and sock like that one that goes up higher. I have really long legs, big feet too, hence the extended footboard. But if I get a higher stool, I'll be a little bit better off with my double bass playing on this kit. Not that I'll do a lot of double bass playing on this kit, because bop and jazz doesn't usually call for a lot of double bass stuff. But hey, there was Ed Shaughnessy. He played jazz. He had double bass. But anyway, I'll show you what these sound like. Again, it's not really going to be the greatest because the stool's too low. I will be getting a probably A Zildjian Splash to replace that, and an A Zildjian 16 or 17 inch medium thin crash probably to replace that. And I'll probably get a little bass drum case. I already have cases for everything else, but I don't have an 18 inch bass drum case. I may make one out of vinyl or something. And then this kit will be pretty much complete other than the drum throne. I might just carry one of my drum thrones around with it, although it'd be nice to have a complete drum set, lock, stock, and barrel. So maybe I'll break down and get a good drum throne too someday. But in the meantime, I'm really happy without sounds. I'm really happy with the set, and I feel very, very fortunate, as I said, to have the opportunity to own it. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and like it and do all those sorts of things, because that way I can continue to make these videos, because I'll be inspired that people are watching. Have a good week.